So for anyone who was just with me on my Instagram, then you know that outside of a delicate, there's nothing on under the sequins. And I can tell you right now, sequins on their own are pretty freaking hot. And sequins on their own, when you have high anxiety, I am like, what is that word? Schwitzing in an unmentionable way right now. So, so welcome everybody. Thank you for bearing with us. We are incredibly late, which is causing me a lot of stress. Thank you for those of you that joined me over on Instagram for some moments, hanging in there while we are getting this up and going. You know, the interesting thing is we've rehearsed this about 100 million times, including today, and it worked flawlessly. But the nature of anything live is that it's got to give you a hard time and really test you. And I think that that's what it is. It's all about testing us. But I'm trying to say, universe, listen, aren't we being tested enough? Like, do I really need this additional testing from you? And I'd like to think, no, I don't.
Seriously, with everything going on in the world, everything else just needs to work smoothly. It needs to be even keel, right? But that's not reality, I guess. So apparently not. So for those of you, welcome everybody to Raise My Bar Mondays, where we will be bringing you amazing education from industry icons from all over the world. We're not going to take up too much of your time because we want you to get right into it. I saw in the chat that so many people, Paul, are waiting to see when we bring him on here exactly what he's going to be sharing. And I can't wait either. I know there was a question on what kind of haircuts, but I think let's just get to it. Let's bring Paul on and let's have him show us amazingness. Yeah. Let's get to it since we're a little late and get right into the education. So without further ado, Mr. Paul Falltrick.
I just smile on. I don't know.
Just smile and wave. We'll tell you when you're live.
Hello, guys. How are you?
Really good. How are you, Paul?
I'm just, you know what, I'm good. I'm at home, which is really weird because I spend most of my time traveling around the world. To be my third week indoors, I'm still here. My hair's got long. I don't know what to do with this. My forehead's looking wider. So, you know, but I'm good. I'm really good. I'm really good.
Well,
I'm actually loving the color of your hair, Paul.
Yeah, actually, I do too.
Natural or?
I'm going to say yes, but if you look back only a couple of years ago, I was a lot darker than this. So I don't know what you guys have done to me, but you've managed to make me go into this silver fox look.
Well, you are a silver fox, and not only are you a silver fox, you're also an amazing, amazing hairdresser. And you've got some great things to share with the group that's joining us live right now. So, what is it you'd like to say to this big, broad world of listeners and people that are tuned in?
Yeah, across the pond, coming live from the UK right now.
From the UK, I mean, the thing is really, we've got lots to talk about. I mean, the tough thing is, and I don't want to go, we've got two other amazing artists coming up with George and Eric. So I don't want to sort of press on too much about, you know, business, because I know Eric will touch on that as well. But I do have philosophies how to cut hair and the way to approach hair. I do have ideas about how to keep the creative mind going in these times when I find a creative mind in these times when you trap us. And you know, we've got to find these little avenues to get out, you know. So I'm extremely proud of our industry at the moment, to be really honest with you guys. I think that we're doing such a cracking job with Instagram, with sharing education, and even you guys. I've got to say thank you to you guys, because the first thing you said to me is, this is not brand led, and that's so important with education, right? You know, and when we're looking around, you know, we're looking at all the brands just joining together. It's making me super proud at the moment. Super proud.
Thank you, Paul. You know, we the nature of how we're structured now actually is this multi-brand approach with people like you know, certainly Alfredo, myself, and the rest of the education team, who are simply only interested in the hairdresser and making sure that they have all of the resources that they need in order to live their very best life. And so with that in mind, we sort of take off any hat that we might where when we're talking about products for specific brands, and we just talk about, what is it that the hairdressing community needs and how can we serve them? And and that's all I know. I can speak for us because we are like one, even though we're afar. We definitely just want to keep bringing stuff like that. So, we're excited. And I think that people probably can't wait because I think when we were speaking about today, one of the things that you said is that when the doors open back up, right, that there's going to be a couple things that are going to happen. And one of them, you're an expert in all of them, but one of the things that you're an expert in as well is this whole how to have, you do come from the UK, so health and safety.
Yes.
And so, there's this health and safety that you all have been renowned for years. And you have a company actually that you help other salons to sort of mind the rules as it relates to health and safety. And so I think you've got that in mind for when the doors open up, like how do salons really make sure that they're doing the things that you've been coaching them on for years, as well as how do you manage so many of our clients wanting to come in while simultaneously wanting to do a really great job for them, but also knowing you're going to have a lot of clients, sort of quick techniques. It's a lot to balance. And I know that you've got some very interesting ways to look at that I think will help everybody who's listening.
Yeah, we're going to the haircuts and tools in a second. The thing is, really the important thing is when the clients come back, they're going to come back, right? So the important thing is to make sure you keep in touch with these clients. Make them know what you're doing. A little bit like just then we had a technical issue, but we kept in touch because people are happy. If you just go silent, they think you've gone. So I think it's extremely important that we still reach out to our clients. We reach out to our staff, but reach out to other salons because we're all in this together. And other stylists, we're all in it together. This isn't just a localized thing. This is a global thing. We're all in it. It doesn't matter where you're from. So when these clients come back, and I know we touched on it when we were doing them 101 rehearsals, that I mentioned about maybe looking at your salon hours, but you come up with an extremely good point, which made me rethink. We might not be allowed to.
Right.
Might be restricted to open the salon more hours. So, how are we going to deal with that? And I think that using technology, online consultations is going to be key. That chat face-to-face with your client, see where they're at. Because every one of your clients as well, which is really quite exciting in a positive way, they're going to come back like a brand new client. Their hair's all going to be grown out from your lovely shapes you've been putting in. Some of them might have cut up a few of the bangs, might have cut up a little divot out here and there.
Right.
So you're not going to see your haircut back as you did like every 6 weeks on an average visit. You're going to see different types of clients, even though you've known them for years. They're all going to be brand new clients, and to me that's quite exciting. That's a good time to get going on that. I think as well, just on a point before I start cutting hair is, I think they're going to be used to social distancing as well. I think they're going to be scared. So I think that we've really got to be clever how we position people in the salon when we open the door and have appointments. Don't just ram them all in as best you can to get your money back. I think the clients that appreciate the fact that social distancing is going to become a little bit normal, they're going to want to still keep a gap and a distance.
Yeah.
And hygiene is my thing.
Yeah.
Hygiene is the thing that I've been battling on about for many, many years, about cross-contamination. The way I say it is if I combed my hair now and then passed it to a complete stranger and said, now comb yours, they'd say no. They'd go, ugh. You do that all day, every day.
Oh, man.
I don't want to. This isn't a sales thing, but what I make sure I do is I clean up my stuff. It goes on, it cleans it, but I do that with everything I use. So it's the scissors, it's everything. before I go to the client, it's a theatre of hygiene. And I think that's going to be absolutely crucial in this time when they come back into the salons.
So I love that you call it a theatre of hygiene.
Yes, exactly. Can you show us what you're using, Paul?
The product is called Clean It. It's a salon hygiene solution, but if you go to cleanit.world, that's the website. And then there's also a hand sanitizer version that's important, because I find with the gel sanitizers, I put them on and I get all sticky, so I can't then cut hair.
Yeah.
This doesn't. This has got moisturizer in it, so it softens the hands, but it's now dry and it's ready to go. So my hands haven't got all that sort of gloop and jelly feeling on it. So I've been working on that for many years now, probably about 6 years.
Amazing.
So
Casey's just popped up the www.cleanit.world onto the screen, so we can have everybody go there. We'll also put it in the chat so that they can take a link and go over to the amazing products that you have that were designed for health and safety with the hairdresser in mind. So that's awesome. Paul, before you get into doing your haircut, I just I need a little something from you, because I think you have your background blurred, which
how do I do? Now, bear in mind, you did notice that I'm called Granddad in the chat.
You are?
Yes, that's our nickname for Paul. We call him Granddad.
I didn't know that. Okay, so let's see where
I'm on settings. Audio and video.
Yeah, it should say.
Oh, look, there I am.
Go, because what happens
there you are
outside of you, then it ends up getting a little blurry, so it was difficult to see the can.
And now we can see your beautiful mannequins that you've got back there. It looks like
up back there.
Yeah, lovely home.
This is my kitchen. Yeah. This is my kitchen. So let's get on to a little bit of education. I know we're going to be pushed a bit over time because we want to try and catch up as well. So I'm just going to stand up a bit, and feel free, guys, to ask questions at any time. And let's make this as interesting and as fun as possible. Now,
so many people are calling you grandpa. I had no idea. I don't think you're old enough to be my grandpa, just for the record. No. I'm much older than I look. I'm just saying.
I hope it's to do not with my looks, and rather the fact that I've been with the brand a long while.
I think it's that you're the original gangster of education, Paul. That's what I'd like to think.
I'll take that.
So I think he should be called the Don then.
Yes,
Don
exactly. I think
that's a much better name than.
Yes, I think we change his name now to the Don.
Okay, as long as everyone agrees with that, I don't mind turning up around the world going the Don. I'll take it.
We will make it so. All right, Paul, take it away.
Haircutting in this time of creativity is important. So what have I been doing myself to keep myself creative in these times? Now, if many people know me, I trained in London many moons ago, but it was the time when you didn't colour, you either cut or coloured. So I find that education at this time is extremely important to learn the things that you don't know, right? Because a lot of people learn the things that they know, and they go on courses at the courses they feel comfortable with. I've been doing colouring. I've been colouring mannequins. I've been learning the theory. A friend of mine called Jo Norton has been. We've been doing little classes every 2 or 3 days, and she's been teaching me colour. And that's been amazing. We've been working with Anne-Marie, Jade and Daniel as well. And there's been 5 of us doing little jams together, just to learn about haircutting and colouring. And it's been so interesting. So I think that's an important thing. Learn what you don't know. Don't learn what you do know. Okay?
Yeah.
And what I think as an educator, it's the same as an educator. You've got to, when you educate, you've got to keep learning to pass on the education. If you stop learning as an educator, you're going to run out of things to say. You're going to run out of things to teach. And I think it's so important for educators to keep learning, all the time. So I've been really working hard in this time to keep learning, and I've been looking at my own weaknesses. And I do call them weaknesses because I know I could have done better. I've been in the industry long enough that I could have worked on them a little while ago, but I've got time now. So I'm sitting down, I'm doing it, and I'm actually really thoroughly enjoying. I never knew what a colour star was. What is that thing? You put that on. It's amazing. I'm thoroughly enjoying it. So, with that in mind, I want to talk a little bit about scissors. Scissors are quite an amazing tool. We've all got them, but sometimes we don't know why we've got them and what they do. So I just want to give it a 2 second of what I would use to cut hair. Now, I'm just going to pick this blade up here. This is called the Stingray. Now, what's quite unique about this Stingray? It's got this little bend or this little arc going down the blade here. See that? Probably wear black. That's why I'm wearing black. So you can see this little arc. Now, that's really important to me because when I cut hair, I was looking at the way the scissors sit with the hair. Now, this bevel or the blade or the sharp bit of your scissor, they come in all different degrees of sharpness. Now, this particular thing is a Stingray, and this becomes this is a 50-degree angle in that bevel. If I look at something like another blade, this is called the Phantom. This has a 40-degree angle. So this will do different to this. So my first bit of advice is when you're ever looking at scissors, don't buy what you've got or don't look at what you already know. Learn about what you haven't got. Learn, get things that that you've got to learn how to use. So I'm going to show you what a 50-degree will do. Now, when we were training, if you remember, take yourself back. There'll be some youngsters online, and there'll be some of us that are a little bit more mature. But you'll all remember the one-length haircut when you was doing a one-length haircut, and you went to cut it, and it looked like the hair was running away from you. Whoa, yeah, you looked like you were chasing the hair. What was actually happening was you were pushing the hair away. You was actually pushing the hair. So as you was going towards the hair, your blade, as you was doing it, was actually pushing the hair away, and this would cause a corner on the ends. So when you looked at your one length, it'd have a little corner on. Of course, you tidy it back up and you carry on. But that's why it's there, because it's pushing the hair. What the Stingray does, it does the reverse of that. It pulls the hair into the blade. So actually, that's what that curve does for me. As I'm actually looking at it, as I shut the blade, hair will be drawn into the blade and make a blunter line. So what that looks like, if I want to then, I've already done this haircut already, and I'm just going to put a nice blunt line in. You can actually quite quickly just put that in and then shut the blade, and you will see the hair stays completely static. It doesn't push it away. It doesn't push it out the way. So I can actually feel quite comfortable to get a really straight line.
Wow. Where?
Really cool.
Something else would try, if I do it with the other scissors, which is now a 30-degree, watch what happens. It's pushing it. Can you see the hair moving?
Yes.
The action was exactly the same, but the blades are different. So that's why sometimes you feel more comfortable with the blades and not. Now, it's nothing to do with the fact that you're cutting it wrong or cutting it bad. Just maybe you've got the wrong angle blade in there. So I just want to give her a nice little strong bowl.
So I didn't use the my pinky inside the shear to open and close it. Yeah, and
this is called the Eastern grip. This has been around. If you study the Eastern grip, that was the Eastern grip. I actually am really bad at the Eastern grip. I've studied it and really struggled with that.
Well, because of that, I've chosen my shears, but this is revolutionary for me, to be very honest. And I just want to make sure everyone knows, again, can you repeat the actual specifications of the shear that you're using so that they can make sure they have this in their arsenal of tools? Because that was mind blowing.
Well, what you need, this particular shear is called the Stingray. It's running at 50 degree on the bevel. Yeah, so the bevel is 50 degrees. It's from a company in Australia called Excellent Edges. Excellent Edges, and I do know they sell them from around the world. A fantastic company. If you want to look at any passion about scissors, they are full of passion about scissors. They do great education about all the different bevels and what you should use and what you shouldn't use. But yeah, Excellent Edges.
Excellent Edges. And so is it a general rule? What is the most percentage of bevel or the highest percentage of bevel? Do you know?
You would go 50% would be one of the highest, because that would be, the thing is with a 50% bevel or 50 degree bevel, you're only going to get them in this length. You'll only get them in 6. This is about 6.5, the length of the scissor. Because what's really important is actually the curvature of the blade, the length of the curvature. Because if you made the blade shorter, the actual degrees would change that way. So your curve would change. So it doesn't address the hair into the blade good enough, or blunt enough. Now, and that's what I find. You won't go, a normal run-of-the-mill blade runs about 42%. That's the typical bevel. That's what you call your all-rounder. That's the one that would do a blunt line. Now, if you've got a 42-degree scissor, the trick is as you go towards the hair, and I'm just going to put down the Stingray, and I'm going to pick up the Phantom, which is it's an all-rounder, but I'm going to try and get the bluntest line. As you go in with your blade, when you go to cut, pull back, pull back, pull back, pull back. What pulling back will do will draw the hair into the blade. Yeah? So stop you chasing it away. All right?
And so can you just do that in slow motion for everybody? Because when are you closing the blade? Are you closing the blade on the pullback?
Hang on, let's just have a little. Is that better? Can you get right in there?
Yeah, that's perfect, Paul. That's perfect.
Okay, I'm going to just re-arc this again. So as you go in, you go pull back. Pull back, pull back. And what I'm watching is I'm not watching the result, because the result is obvious because I'm cutting that line. What I'm watching is the performance of the hair above the cut line. So as I've got my eyes are focused here, so I'm making sure the hair is not being pushed away. Because if the hair gets pushed away, then I'm not going to end up with a blunt line.
Right.
So that will give us that really, as you can see, really blunt line pulling it away. Now, this is a key tool because, okay, whether you like this haircut or not, I've always said this is irrelevant. This is an art. But you'd always need a blunt line in a bob. You always need a blunt line in a bang. If you want that really strong blunt bang, you can even soften it where you can do blunt and then curve around the corner of the eyes to soften the cheekbones. But you always need to learn how to cut a blunt line. And I found, I learned this not that long ago, if I'm honest. I would always go in with clippers or trimmers to get that blunt line. And actually, do you know what? It sounds quite scary when you put trimmers to a lady's hair. Right. But just try that. Now, another thing I always say about my education as well is, and this is a bizarre one, but it's don't believe a word I say. Because if you believe everything I say, you've not gone out and done your research. Go out and learn. Go out and find out. Hairdressers have really strong opinions about things, but they don't know why. Okay, so with me, go and find the why, and you'll find so many different things out there, so many different tools and ways of cutting hair. Now that's looking pretty damn brutal and strong. which is
Paul,
if you like.
people are asking, do you get dry and wet? And if so, how do you make those decisions?
It's a fantastic question. Now, the answer is not a short answer. Now, I hear lots of hairdressers come up with really short answers for that particular question. But if you go back into the history of hair, there was two main hairdressers, especially in the UK. One was called Bevel. This was back in the 60s. And one was called another hairdresser who was a great legend in my eyes. His name was Leonard Lewis. Now, Leonard Lewis and Bevel worked together. They worked in the same business together at one point. They clashed. They were friends, but they clashed creatively. And that just about sums up the Sassoon method and the Leonard Lewis method. One of them is extremely soft. One of them is extremely solid, strong. Sassoon's is strong, Leonard's was soft. Now, the question is, do you cut wet or dry? If you've got someone, there is no right answer. There is no right answer. You've got to basically adapt it to everything you do, because if I got a telephone wire, the old-fashioned telephone wire, this could be why they call me granddad, and we've got a telephone wire, and I cut it and let go, nothing would happen. If I pulled that telephone wire and cut it, it would spring up, right?
Yeah.
So let's get 100 telephone wires. Let's pull 100 down and cut them, and we spring them up. The ends will be different lengths. If we just leave it naturally and cut it, they will all be the same length. But no one's wrong or right, because that's basically called natural fall. It's looking at the hair naturally, how it falls on its own. What you'll see when I work with the wide tooth of my comb for natural fall, and I use the finer tooth of my comb for more solid work. Yeah. So when I'm cutting baselines and when I'm starting my bobs, I go typical Sassoon, wet hair, really precise, fine tooth of the comb, in I go. Then I let the hair dry naturally, put a diffuser on. Put a diffuser on it and see what it really does. And if it jumps up one side than another, as a precision hair cutter, you've got a choice. Do you make it visually look straight, or do you make it perfectly feel straight? In other words, it checks straight. The answer actually is in with your client. She knows the answer, because you've got to ask her in your consultation, you know, are you good with your hair? Do you do it in different styles? And she says, I'm really good at blow drying it. I'm really good at doing different things. Well, then you know she can stretch the hair into a different place. Then it needs to be cut, that it can be checked solid. If she says to you, Paul, I am rubbish with my hair, rubbish. Why would I then stretch it into a different place and say to her, well, that's where I'm putting it. Yeah. I would diffuse it, I would let the hair dry naturally, then I would cut it naturally. They're basically two different methods, Sassoons and Leonards. You know, my advice to everyone out there is learn both, and then you can adapt. You know, that's what I did. I learned both and start to clash. I clashed the systems together. I clashed Sassoons and Leonards and moved them around and shift them around a bit. And basically you can follow fashion as well like that, as fashion changes.
So, Paul, I think there was a couple of things that you said that I just want to make sure that I remind anybody, just in case we have some new viewers. And one is that when we do open the proverbial doors back up, or the real doors back up for our clients, that it's going to be like having new clients, which, as we know, one of the things that our clients love from us is a consultation. They love to hear, you know, they love to tell us what they need. We love to be able to tell them what we think. And in this case, we want to know exactly, to your point that you just made, we want to know exactly how do they like to wear their hair? So what is their lifestyle? Do they have time to blow dry it? Do they have time to style it? And I was just thinking that while many hairdressers right now, what we're seeing is that there are some who are trying to find time for their days. But what an awesome opportunity we have right now, while the doors are not open, to call and do that consultation with every single client, so that when they do come in, if they want something that we don't know, we've got the time to practice it or to learn it or to take a skill that you just shared with us. So I just wanted to hit on that one more time, because I think that you're amazing. You're sharing so many nuggets. I'm writing my own notes just so that you know. And I'm really appreciating all of this. But to all of the hairdressers who are watching, now is the time. Again, get online with your clients, find out what they need right now and how we can support them, and what they want when they come back in. What is it that they want to do with their hair? And let's either brush up to make sure we know it perfectly, or simultaneously just have that planned out so that when they do come in for their appointment, we can get right to it, get them in, get them out. They're going to want to be able to get in and out quickly. And I love these hot tips.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you, and this is the key time to do that. I love the idea of online consultations. You know, talking to them on they're all getting so used to using technology. If I can take the blur off a background, we can all get used to using technology again. And for the first time, a lot of people are using Zoom or Skype or FaceTime. They're all using these. These tools are in their hands, so they're not going to be surprised if you turn up on a screen.
There's a couple of questions, Paul. Is the type of comb that you use as important as your scissor?
Yes, for me, yes. I personally prefer the YS Park ones. I've got all different lengths of them. Again, it doesn't just mean one. I get different lengths. If I was doing scissor over combing, excuse me for leaning in front of the camera, guys, and see my armpit. If I was doing scissor over combing, I use a cut safe comb, and what these combs are really cool because what they've got is they're different widths. So this one here is wider. So it's like a guard. It's like a guard, but in your comb. So like a clipper guard. And that would be a number 3. That would be a number 2.
Amazing.
Number 1.
Right.
If I wanted to go tighter in, I go back to my YS Park. If I wanted to go further in, I go to my barbering combs. So I use the combs or the tools as well to give me the width of the length when I'm scissor over combing. So yes is the answer to the question. Also, these, I don't know if anyone, there'll be people online that maybe have seen me work before. I've got a reputation of cutting hair with a ruler. And basically, a lot of hairstylists would say, I would never use a ruler. I wouldn't do that, I said, well, that's a ruler. These holes of your YS Park are exactly 1 centimetre, which is 2.5 millimetres in American. Yeah, these are exactly the same part. So it's a ruler, So yes, you do use a ruler all the time. It's how you use it to balance, whether you use it or not, obviously. When I'm working on my clients, I love using it, obviously. I make a big thing of it because they go, that's even, they know it. So the comb is very, very important.
Awesome.
How long have I got, Sheri? Because I want to make sure I don't burn up all the other people's time here as well. How long have I got?
Go ahead and go into your next client.
She has a client. We're in quarantine right now. Our mannequins are definitely friends and clients.
He doesn't say much.
Paul, I'm so blown away. I'm taking notes too. Like this information is just mind blowing. So please, we want to hear from you. If we go over a little bit today, for technical difficulties, I think that's fine. I think what you're saying is so valuable. So please, continue.
Well, we just talked a little bit about scissor over combing then. Scissor over combing, I would always pick up a 50-degree blade so the hair doesn't move. Okay, so it stays a bit static. So this one's a number 2. What's really important is let the comb do the work so it sits in tight next to the head, and I now know that will be a number 2. All I then need to make sure I worry about is the head position. The head position is key in any haircut, because if I put the head over to the side and I put my number 2 in and point to the ceiling, I'm going to leave a corner on. If I move the head up, put number 2 in and point to the ceiling, I start to take the corner off. Okay? So I can actually round a haircut by leaning her slightly into me. I can actually go against that. So instead of going, this would keep a very big corner on. this would start to round it off slightly. If I lean her head this way and cut and point down to the ceiling, it will round it off even more. Yeah. So I'm using the head position to give me the angle, not me. I'm just doing the same thing over and over again, right in with the comb. It doesn't have to be one of these combs. It can be your wires part or your normal cutting comb. You go in to the ceiling, point the comb to the ceiling, and the head position will give me the angle that I'm looking for. Yeah, that will be different.
Amazing.
So that's with scissor over combing. That's just another little tip. I'm rattling through them all. Let's go and push the hair away. I want to now push the hair away from you. Okay? You see me pull the hair in, nice and blunt. Let's really soften this haircut. As we go up, you'll start to see, as I come to cut the hair, it will just push it. See it?
Yeah.
It's not a very nice line at all. It's actually ugly. It's because what I've got to do is I've got to go in this way and push the hair away and shut the blade. And what happens is you look like you've texturized it. But I've got a scissor in my hand. It shouldn't do that. It shouldn't be doing that. The reason it's doing that, I'm going to slow right down because I feel confident now it's working on the screen. I'm going to do it slowly. So I lift the hair up. I'm going to turn around a little bit so you can see her. So watch the blade. Let me try and zoom in. I'm just getting technical and zooming in. As we shut the blade,
looks great.
Fully shut. Watch it shut. Look at the hair push away. Can you see the hair pushing?
Yeah.
But the blade, you can see I'm not doing anything clever with the blade. I can even look away. Because what I know I'm doing is I'm pushing the hair. So what happens is I'm getting it so soft. And that's because this is 30 degrees. That
unbelievable.
So good.
How did I never know that?
Have we ever met, darling? You'll get bored with me. I go on and on.
I doubt it. I doubt I'll get bored of you.
So pushing it away, pushing it away, pushing it away. So what happens is I'm in control, complete control of the texturizing or the softening of the hair. So it's really, really softening it down. Push, 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 push. Again, if I try to cut a straight line, it doesn't do it. Look, won't do it. I am trying. It won't do it. So that's all to do with the tools that I'm using. And I think a lot of the time we underestimate, or not underestimate, it's probably the wrong word, Folly. We just get what we know we've got. You go and get a pair of scissors and you go, well, I like that one. So you then get another one. Oh, it's about time I got another one. No. Go and get them sharpened properly, get them serviced properly, and get yourself a new blade, a different blade, and enjoy it.
How often do you recommend servicing your shears, and how often do you normally?
Okay, the routine that I have every single day in my salon is I go through, I make sure that I oil the blades. The blades get oiled every single day.
Ooh.
Every day I put a little drop in there and then just rub it up the line there. Take that off. I will then use hygiene spray as well on every client. So you've got to make sure, if you're going to use a hygiene spray, you've got to make sure you oil, because this will take everything off. Yeah? So it forces you to actually look after your blades. Now your blades, they should, in theory, last you a long while if you do that. The way to check whether they're going is when you open the blade, and my dog's just come downstairs to see what's going on. Send her off. When you open the blade, you should be able to just gently let it open. Let me just let it open, and then you should be able to shake it. Yeah, and if it shakes and stays at that angle, that means they're sitting right. That's the ultimate cutting position for the blade. If they drop open, they're too loose. If they're actually don't do anything, they're too tight. Okay. Now, if they're going to be too loose, you will wreck the bevel of your blade very quickly.
Right.
You'll wreck it quite quickly. If they're too tight, you'll actually wreck your own body, because what happens is you start to get arthritis in the hands ache, because you're actually working the blade too much. If you do all that, Alfredo, if you get all that sorted out, you're oiling every day, you're servicing your scissors, you're keeping the tension right, they can last you 2-3 years, before they start to feel like, me personally, I tend to not like to get them serviced anywhere but from the place I bought them from. It's one of them things that I learned the hard way. I had a beautiful pair of scissors, and they were K-shows at the time. Got them serviced, and they come back and they were never the same.
Paul, a couple more questions have come through. Do you have some tips on good point cutting, and what are you looking for when you're point cutting? And then lastly, the name of the brand of comb that you're using.
Right, okay. I'll answer the comb first. That's an easy one. That's YS Park. And they are Japanese.
It's just that, Y and then S Park?
Yeah, Y, S, and then Park. And I think Park is P-A-R-C. Park.
Yeah, it is, yes.
I had the pleasure of meeting him not so long ago. What an amazing man. What an amazing man. Mr. Park himself. And the point cutting technique, the biggest technique I can give you, if you've got an all-rounder scissor, I like to, when I'm point cutting, I like to then, when I'm lifting the hair up, to protect the density, the finger position is where you're protecting the density, so downwards. If you were point cutting here, the result is really not going to make too much difference, okay? So I like to then make sure the protection area is nearer the root, and then I look at the area where I'm actually going to point cut, which is quite a high, always for me is always quite a high area, so there's a lot of hair standing up, and then you make sure that when you bring your elbow up, the back of your hand is pointing to your face. Okay, so the back of your hand is pointing to your face, and then all you then do, you determine how much weight you're going to take out. I love this, it's so lovely looking at you, Steve. You determine the amount of weight you're going to take out by not moving this, by moving this. So the blade changes direction depending if my elbow comes down or down. So if I wanted to take a lot of weight out, my elbow comes down slightly and I can actually take a lot of weight out. If I don't want to take too much weight out and I want to keep all of my shape, my elbow comes higher and the blade will then address the hair steeper. Yeah.
Got it. Excellent. Excellent. Is there a particular oil that you use for your shears?
Again, the oil that I use, there is a make of it as such. Off the top of my head, I can't remember the actual oils make, but I use the one that comes with my scissors from Excellent Edges. So they come up with a lovely little, Camellia. PTFE scissor oil. There you go. So it says it on it. So that's how much attention I paid to this little beauty. But that's the one I use. It comes in this lovely little bottle. I've had these for a while and I've got tons of oil still left in there.
Well, if you don't mind, if you would post this, take a picture of your tools as well as the oil and tag us. We'll go ahead and we'll put that into our Instagram feeds at Alfredo Lewis and at Sheri Doss on Instagram, as well as at Paul Falltrick, right? What is your, is that right?
It's Paul Falltrick, but Falltrick is 2 L's.
Good job. We'll get Noah to put all of those into the chat so that you all can see them. So just to recap before we go, Paul, I took down 5 key things. You can tell me how I'm doing. 1 is to consult now, so we know what to do when we go back. And Patty Rodriguez had said it's a great time to reinvent our consultations. 2 is to get to know your tools and what they do. The third is to oil your blades every day with the oil that comes with your shears. You're going to let us know what those are.
Yeah.
Number 4, clean with a hygiene spray, which you can find. You're going to, again, that'll be put into the chat and we'll share that. And 5 is to service your tools from where you bought them. Now that's in addition to the amazing tips that you shared. I love every single one of them. A 50% bevel is going to give you a nice strong cut. 30% or under that is going to push the hair a little bit. If you still want a strong line, you're going to pull back as you're closing out. And if you want more softness, then you're going to use that lower percentage bevel in order to get softness in the hair. And then when you're point cutting, it's all about your elbow. More weight, your elbow goes down. Less weight, your elbow goes up. Am I getting it right?
Yes, I live.
Good student.
I live. And you know, Paul, something that you said in the beginning, just like the bigger, is just what you said about, I loved what you said about education and about keep learning, you know, no matter how long you've been doing hair, you know, that we should always be pushing ourselves to learn what we don't know. You know, for those people that were joining a little later, that was one of the first things you said, and that like really struck a chord with me. So thank you for saying that.
It's been an absolute pleasure. I'm so jealous that my time has come and gone first. There's some amazing artists coming. I mean, I've looked at the lineup, you know, Mr. Benson, you know, Michelle, you know, just there's so many. I'm just reading down it. Tabitha's in there. You've done so well to put this together. You know, thank you from the bottom of my heart. You know, George and Eric are coming next. So
yes.
So you're going to learn loads coming up. So, and I'll be turning off this. I'll be having a glass of wine because I'm allowed to drink now, Sherry. Is that right?
Yes, you can.
Yes, you are.
You could have started earlier.
And Paul, we would love to have you back sometimes. Don't be jealous.
Yes.
You were absolutely incredible. So please come back and visit us again.
Listen,
and Paul, thanks for being our first.
Yes, exactly. You know what they say about your first? You never forget.
Yeah, but look what's happened now. The most handsome man in the world has come on. You know.
Well, they don't. Yeah.
I
call him Aladdin.
Listen,
yeah. So Eric's in the green room, everybody that's watching. Paul, thank you so much. We'll be bringing Eric on with us in just a moment. Paul, you're amazing.
Paul,
I learned so
big
much.
kiss. Learned so much from you. Thank you so much, Paul.
Guys, thank you very much. Have fun. Have fun. How do you do
that?
Bye, Dawn. Bye, the Dawn.
So, Alfredo, that was amazing,
wow,
right? Oh my gosh, my mind is absolutely
that was worth the wait.
blown.
My mind's blown. You know how you always say you want to learn more about balayage, right? Which we're going to probably get into some of that later today. I, on the other hand, want to learn more about cutting because I'm more of a colorist and I do cut, but not as much as I'd like. So I was mind blown and inspired by what we just saw for sure.
So was I, and I do love cutting, but I thought, how have I gone this many years and not known any of that? Like there were just some.
I mean, just the pulling back with the scissors, like never saw that before, right?
Me either, but yeah. My dog's hair is too short for me to attempt to do anything. So I don't know where I'm gonna get to practice, but hopefully when I practice, even if it's on myself, I don't look like the wig that our friend Eric, who we're gonna join in just a minute, that he showed on his Instagram yesterday.
Did you see that video last night?
It was a fringe trim extraordinaire. So without further ado, we do have somebody amazing coming on that is going to help us navigate some of these strange business times for us and our hairdressers. So please, everybody, welcome on Mr. I guess, yeah, he is one of the most beautiful humans I've ever seen.
He is.
A little bit
salon owner, hair video maker extraordinaire.
Real life Aladdin.
Transformation, real life Aladdin, Mr. Eric Vaughn, the real Eric Vaughn.
I mean, wow, that was quite an intro. Thank you, guys.
We're just getting warmed up. What do you mean?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on.
No, I'm so excited to be here today. I'm really excited to get in there and jump in and answer some business questions.
Awesome. Well, for those of you that didn't see us last week, we did have Eric on live with me on Thursday. Thank you for joining us, Eric. I know that you were at the salon, you're in the midst of organizing so many things. And, you know, I just want you to know that your reputation as a business leader in the salon industry precedes yourself. And our boss was actually talking about you and this amazing business model that you have put together that seems to have sort of fared quite well for you as you're in these intermediary stages. So can you tell us a little bit about the business model at your salon?
Yeah, so the business model that I have at the salon basically is just that every stylist who works in my salon was at one point my assistant. So each one gets a year hands-on training, models, basically seeing every sort of scenario that they could see before going on the floor. So that way, every stylist has had the same training, can achieve the same results, do the same services, kind of hit every note, and we can guarantee what they're doing in the salon.
Nice. Okay. And so is your salon a commission salon, or is it a booth renter salon, or what's the structure of your salon?
So right now, all of my stylists are on commission. I think eventually over time, as they start to build, my longest term stylists on the floor have the option to eventually go booth rent if they wanted to, because I'm trying to prevent the situation in the salon of like, they feel like they've got it, they feel like they don't need me anymore, so they move on because they want to make all their own money, which is the mindset of a lot of hairdressers who do work in a commission salon. So I want to let them know, here's your option. This is what, and I've literally broken it down for all of them, like this is what it would cost for you to be a booth rent salon owner, or just to do booth rent anywhere. This is the cost of your product. This is the cost of your sodas, the toilet paper, like all your color, everything included, your tools, foils, everything that I provide. This is what your monthly cost would essentially be. So if you want to go booth rent, you're more than welcome to. Here's what your rental charge will be, but just know that all of those charges will be yours. So I've given them the option, and every single one of them is like, no, I'm good.
You know, it's interesting that you say that, Eric, because I had years ago, I come from California, and so I was booth renter, commission, booth renter. And at one point I did exactly what you're saying, is I outlined the difference between me being commission and me being a booth renter. And what I found is that I made 10% more when I was a booth renter, but then I had to take care of, even that's including all of my, you know, the things that I had to buy, but then I had to, you know, pay for to have my taxes done in a more robust way than simply using my W-2 that I got from my salon owner. And so those things in the end, plus the time it took to do that, actually wasn't worth me staying as a booth renter. And that's why I went back to very, very happily being on commission, because it actually made me feel, in the end, it actually worked out much better for me. And I think that that's an extraordinary piece of advice that you're sharing with those who right now, maybe they're anticipating going into a different model when we come out of this post-COVID, if you will. And absolutely, and everybody, I'd keep in mind, like, you know, look at all of the costs, look at even outside of what it costs to be in the salon, you know, whether that's an accountant, etc., and see what makes the most sense for you. Because I do feel like, you know, I'm not sure if I'm one way or the other, or sweets or whatever. I think I can celebrate all of them, but what works best for you, and looking into all the nitty gritty, if you will, I think is super important.
Absolutely. I mean, with being in a commission salon, like you said, with the taxes alone, they don't have to worry about that, because I put their tips, all their credit card tips go on their paycheck with them taxed. So they don't have to worry about reporting any of their tips, because it's already been done for them. So there's no shady business. They don't have to worry about those things. So it just makes it easy.
Yeah, exactly.
I worked in a commission salon the first half of my career, and then the second half I went to booth renter. And there's things like I'm with you, Sheri. They both have their pluses and minuses. I think it's really an individual choice, but there are things I miss from the commission side, like having the salon get you new clients, not being as responsible for you do promote yourself, but you have that support of the salon. You know, just all the like perks and bells and whistles that happen when you're, like you're a salon owner, the things that you take care of. Then when you go on your own in your own studio, like you're having to take on a lot of responsibilities that you don't have. So for me, it's kind of like where you're at in the journey, I guess, as an independent stylist or working in a salon like that. How many people are at your salon?
So I have 8 employees total.
And you just opened a new location just this year, right?
Yeah, it was actually September of 2019 was our opening of the new location. So when we went into the new location, I had 3 employees like 4 employees, and then to now having 8. So we've expanded quite a bit in just a very short amount of time.
Congratulations.
Yes.
Congratulations. That's amazing. And so for your salon before, is there anything that you did differently for your salon when you expanded from a business perspective than you did for the smaller location?
Mm-hmm.
From what aspect are you?
Like, was there anything from a business structural setup process perspective, anything that you thought, okay, if we're going to go bigger, right? Go big or go home. If we're going to go bigger, then how we might need to structure ourselves a little bit differently or implement some new systems. Is there anything for yourself that you needed to be mindful of in that situation?
The biggest thing that I had to be more mindful of was our product usage, honestly. Being in a smaller salon where there's only 3-4 of us doing hair to now there's 8 of us doing hair, product usage and product consumption is huge. And the one thing that we really had to break down is how much color are we really using per service and how much color are we wasting per service? Because when we really started looking at it and breaking it down, we were wasting a massive amount of color that was going in the trash. So I'm actually looking into, as soon as we go back into the salon, even implementing this a step further with looking into like companies like Salon Scale and things like that to really help my business even more. But we just kind of started taking a look like, okay, this is how much color you should be mixing. It should not be more than that. And if you need more than that, it's a charge on the client because they have more hair, so you need more color versus mixing up this mass amount and then half of it going in the trash.
Right. That makes a ton of sense, actually. Over the weekend, we had spoken on Thursday, and then over the weekend, I saw that you had some great posts as it relates to navigating the difficulty that outside of the don't cut your fringe, which, they're going to do it, man, but then they're going to be like, thank God, because then they're going to see, wow, it's much harder than I thought. And now I look like, the characters from Dumb and Dumber. And so it might actually be a blessing. I was saying, I don't know if you caught it over the weekend, but I was a nail tech for 4 years. I did my own nails yesterday, and I got so much stuff. They look good from afar, my friend. But when you get close and when you feel them, you're like, whoa, this is, you're Carmen. I need Carmen back. And I'm just so grateful to see Carmen, to pay Carmen, and to tip Carmen a really, really big tip for helping me fix myself. So I think you have a lot of advice, and I think that I'm wondering if you could just share that with the communities here, just in case they missed it over the weekend on your Instagram.
Yeah, absolutely. So the biggest piece of advice that I can give to anybody sitting out there right now is either go and talk to their accountant, talk to whoever does their, whether it be payroll or does their taxes. If you have a business account at a bank, a lender, anything like that, go sit and have a conversation with them right now, or look up the CARES Act online. There's a lot of funding that has been pushed out to help assist, whether it be the small business owner or the independent contractor right now. So there's a lot of options that are out there. For myself, we just applied for the payroll protection plan. Hopefully, I should be hearing back soon on what it is that I've qualified for, what I'm going to be getting. So know what your options are, investigate them. So for me, like the payroll protection plan, basically what that is it ensures that while we're closed, I'm able to pay my employees and keep them from filing unemployment. And that's essentially how you qualify. You have to present your 2019 payroll, I believe 2018 or 2019 tax returns. There's a few different things that go into it, but you basically have to show this is how much went out in payroll from the month of February 2019 to July of 2019. They take an average of that, times it by 2.5, and that's what the amount of money that you get if you qualify. And that will help you pay your employees for this amount of time that your salon is going to be closed. Independent contractors have a different option as well. They can actually file unemployment right now. And there's even different grants that have been released. I know that I was looking on Brazilian Bond Builders Instagram page, and they actually posted this incredible link. I've sent it to several hairdressers on Instagram, and it's basically like this general all-in-one source for any type of salon business to look up by state what you can apply for, what you qualify for, and how to do it. So I thought that was really cool.
Very cool.
That's great.
Really great.
I have some questions that have been coming in, Eric, that I get on my direct messages are from not renters, but they are commissioned salons. Well, there's two situations. They might be renter, they might be in a commissioned salon, whereby their salon owner, they feel, may not have this information, and either A, is continuing to charge them rent. Maybe they're continuing to keep the doors open because they're allowed to by the government, or they have not yet spoken about any of the payroll being protected if they're a commissioned stylist. And I think there's a bit of, I'd say apprehension for that individual to speak with their salon owner, because they don't want to, they're already in a shaky ground, right, in the situation. They don't want to cause any upset and make their future any shakier. Is there any sort of recommendation from a how to have that conversation perspective that you could share with those stylists so that they could speak with their owners?
So first and foremost, I would hope that at this stage in the game, every salon owner has just made that painful decision, whether your county, state, whatever government it is, whether they've made the decision to shut you down or not. I would hope at this point, everyone can see the gravity of the situation. And so I would hope that salon owners have just made the decision to close. However, if they haven't, you do have options. You can, decide to not go and have that conversation with your employer that you feel like your health is at risk. One of my employees, before we shut down, she gave me a phone call and she was like, honestly, Eric, I'm scared right now. She's pregnant and they don't know the long-term effects that this has on the mother or the baby. And so she called me and she was like, look, I'm just scared. I don't know what to do. We're open, but the government hasn't shut us down, but I'm scared. And I said, babe, stay home. Like, if you're scared, stay home. If you work in a salon where you feel, first and foremost, if you don't feel like you can have a conversation with your owner, you probably shouldn't be in that salon because that's not somebody that you want to work for initially anyways. You should be able to have an open, honest conversation with them about real world topics, especially a pandemic. But moving into, if you don't know what route your salon owner is taking, I would honestly just contact them and just say, hey, I'm sure you have a lot on your plate. I know that there's a lot going on. You own a business. You're trying to figure things out. You're trying to navigate the channels that no one honestly really understands. All of this is so new. I just am curious as to how to protect myself in this situation. Obviously, the CARES Act has come out. Have you looked into that? Do I need to go ahead and file for unemployment? You can approach them with the questions in a way that's not like, I'm filing for unemployment tomorrow. Because if you were to file for unemployment, that could actually affect the payroll protection plan. The payroll protection plan, in a sense, is there to keep you from having to file unemployment. So if you just filed unemployment, that could mess things up. You have to have an open line of communication with the salon owner in order to know what route you need to navigate. Does that make sense?
Yeah, Eric, that's really good advice.
I think that the key there that would be helpful in, you know, them feeling comfortable to have the conversation is to say there's a lot of options right now for independents as well as salon owners. The last thing I'd want to do is to go and take action that might cause you to not be able to take action on behalf of the salon. So I'm wondering, do you know what your actions will be? Can we talk about it a little bit so that we can work on this together? And that way, if they have a salon owner, you know, who maybe is a little having a hard time for a myriad of reasons, right? Like, I don't know what every single person's going through, and maybe there's something that's just preventing, you know, sometimes people can get paralyzed by the stress, by the anxiety, and by how much is going on and all of the different choices, that if that happens to be that person, you know, if you are the stylist, approach the salon owner in a way where you're trying to work with them and protect them. And I think that's some really great advice. Thank you so much. I know that we've been getting that sort of those sorts of comments. Is there anything that you're doing to prepare now, not only yourself, but also the stylists, have them doing something to prepare for when the doors open again?
So right now, what I've basically told my stylist to brush up on is any and all state board sanitation, because we don't know what the other side of COVID looks like, you know, and I've said all along, people are so scared of the unknown. People are, you know, we don't know enough about this yet to really say this is what the other side of COVID is going to look like, especially in a sense when you're touching people and using combs and putting them through their hair and you have constant touch. So I've told my stylist to just really brush up on your sanitation. And I loved the thing that Paul said about the theatric of it as well.
Yes.
Like, we may be doing everything in the world right, but if you don't show your guest that you're doing it, they don't know. So I loved the theatric aspect of it, because it's true. You need to take that comb and sanitize it in front of them so they know it's done. I think that's going to be something huge. So I've had them working on that.
What advice do you have for people watching today? What have you guys been doing that works? How have the clients been responding to it? And so on and so forth.
So no matter what route you decide to take when it comes to rescheduling your appointments, as long as you're communicating with your guests what that route is, people feel like you care. So for me, when we closed initially until April 4th, which was what the city closed us for, I called all those appointments up to April 4th, called them, we rescheduled them, and I said, hey, if this changes, I'll call you back. I'll call you again. We'll keep rescheduling until we're back in the salon. Because at the end of the day, for me, I want to make sure that myself and my team have clients to walk into. That when we open our doors back up, we automatically have revenue coming back in, and not the, hey, we're open, when do you want to come in? Yeah. And I feel like that's what's scary, because I don't know that we're actually ever going to get a, you know, okay, in 25 days, all businesses are back open. It could potentially be like okay, next week, let's go. So you want to be prepared in the event that they announce at any moment you can go back to work. So we've been calling every single client. We got pushed to April 30th now. So now we have every client through April 30th rescheduled into May, June, and July. Now, what I have been doing is I've been pushing clients out further than what they want or what they would normally be back in for. So that way we do have some cushion and wiggle room. So that way, if this gets pushed out again, we're not just having this massive load of people to move. My clients have actually said to me, like, the fact that you've now called me twice to reschedule just shows how much you care about your business and you care about each and every client. And that's come from my clients, my stylist clients, everybody involved. But if your option is, and I've seen a lot of this on social, is we're not rescheduling until we know. So for right now, your appointments are all just canceled. That is fine if that is the route that you are taking. But my advice to you would be to be meticulous in whose appointments have been canceled, what days they were booked for, what services they were booked for. Because when you call them back and you say, okay, hey, Joey, what were you booked for? I can't remember. It's always setting that expectation that you care so much about your guests that when you call Joey, you can say, hey, Joey, I'm so sorry. I know we canceled your appointment, but I know that we had you booked for a full highlight, a toner, a haircut, and a Brazilian blowout. Is that what you want to go ahead and rebook for? It sets that level and that standard that you just care so much about them. Even though their appointment was canceled indefinitely until we reopened, you knew exactly what they were getting and that they prefer Wednesdays. Those things matter.
They do. I love that. Well, I love so many things. I've got like 4 pages of notes just from you, Eric.
Right.
And I think that, what we're also recommending for people is to do the FaceTime consultation, right? Because we have this varying degree of client, and we've got some clients who feel so upset about what's happening with their hair and the fact that maybe they have to be on Skype or Zoom or Teams meetings all day long, or how their partner visualizes them. And so it's important for me to tell our stylists to make sure that they're serving the client. And if they have to do something drastic at home, help walk them through that drasticness instead of letting them just figure it out on their own. But then I think the other important thing, which is something Paul alluded to as well, is having that FaceTime consultation. So, to your point, this is what you were booked with before. How's it going there? Have you thought about a change when you come back so that you're fully prepared and you see what's going on with their hair anyway, right? So that you can, because if they've got a very long regrowth, we know that we treat that different than a regular touch-up, and it might take more time, etc. So just one more question from here, and then I want to sort of recap so that if anyone's just joined, they hear as well. But Diane is saying that I love it, she's calling it after Rona 2020. So after Rona 2020, she's going from being commission-based to booth renter, and do you have any words of wisdom for her?
Yeah, just my biggest word of wisdom is really look over your finances during this time and make sure it's something that after Rona 2020, that you're financially in the right place to do that. It's not that I was a booth renter at one point myself, and it's after this extended period of time being off, just make sure that you have your money in order so that way you're not even further behind when this is all done. You need to have all your ducks in a row.
Excellent.
Absolutely.
So just to recap a little, Eric, one of the things is connect with your resources. There were so many to name, but accountants, banks, lending agents, investigate the CARE Act if that's viable for you. Payroll protection plan for indies. Now, our independent stylists, they can now get unemployment. So again, just taking all of the things that you could potentially do for yourself. We will go to the resource that you mentioned earlier that has state by state what those resources are. We'll post them on our individual pages.
Yeah, absolutely.
Approach your owner with the questions from a place of I want to work with you together. Or I love being part of this team. Let's talk about what your plans are and see if there's a way I can help support those, sort of helping them make that decision. I love the, sanitize with theatrics. Brushing up on that sanitation. I can just picture myself like and then staying connected, reschedule, then reschedule again, or at the very least, make sure you're doing your Facebook FaceTime consultations. I think are all super important things. Please, everybody, continue to follow Eric. He's got not only some great tips as a business owner, a business leader, but also really funny and entertaining, and of course, gorgeous to look at, which leaves me with one final question, because I can't ask you how old you are. What is your skincare regimen?
Please. Okay. Pen and paper for everybody.
So I just turned 30 last month, and I made a huge commitment about 5 months ago. So up until 5 months ago, I used Dove bar soap on my face, and my cosmetic injector, the one who does my Botox and all of that. She had been working on me for months and months and months about not using bar soap. So now I use SkinCeuticals. It's their I don't even know what it's called. I just use it because she gave it to me. But I wash my face with that once a day, and that's it.
Okay, well.
No moisturizer?
No.
No moisturizer. Unbelievable.
I love you, but I hate
just so
you.
you know, I could actually be your mom. I literally am old enough to be your mom, but
you don't look it.
Thank you. So thank you so much, everybody. Thank Eric for being
Eric, thank you so much. Always such an inspiration, and just congratulations on your continued success and just being such an inspiration to everybody. And we will definitely be waiting for your next video. Who knows what you have in store for us next?
I can't
I have
wait.
some good ones coming, but if any of you guys out there have any salon business questions, please @ me on Instagram. Shoot me your questions. I'm here for you guys anytime. But thanks, guys, for having me.
Eric, thank you so much.
Thank you, Eric. So thank you so much. Alfredo, another question has come in, and I think it's a good one. If the owners have told them already to file unemployment before the CARE Act, I would go back and I would find out if revisit it, because yes, you might have filed beforehand, but see what you could do. Listen, guys, I wish I was the expert in all these things, as does Alfredo, but we don't have to be. The good news is that there's resources out there. So please
there
go
is
out.
and I think for that situation, things have changed so much. So just make sure, because the CARE Act, it's happening newer. So just make sure that your salon is still on the same page, or maybe they've changed their outlook on it now that there's more resources available and different options out there.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because you sort of don't think, even for myself, I don't think of all of the different things that can be done in these strange times.
Yeah.
And, while I'm not behind the chair, I do have extenuating circumstances as it relates to,
Of course.
My family situation that's changed, which does in fact impact me financially. And I was thinking this morning, oh yeah, you probably should do something about that.
Yeah, no,
I'm late myself on the game, but it doesn't mean it's too late to do something. So
it's never too late.
Never too late. So Alfredo, you're an amazing colorist. I love you. I love watching everything that you do. And
Thank you.
That you're also very excited about this.
I am. That's why I went like this, because every single guest today I was excited for. All the guests we have coming in the future I'm excited for, but I was really excited for this next guest today because, as you know, I love highlighting and balayage and hair painting and blonding just personally and in my own career. So to have George Garcia on, I think he's going to be showing us a new highlighting technique, right? That we tried to get out of him and he wouldn't even tell you or I.
He wouldn't tell us. I've known him a long time, and I was sort of thinking that he thought of me a little bit, like a closer friend.
Like he'd tell you on the DL maybe and not tell me. Yeah,
not so much.
Yeah,
no
you guys have known each other a long
nothing.
time. So I'm so excited to learn from George, because like Paul said in the beginning of this is, I always believe when you think you know everything, that's when you stop growing. So I'm so excited to learn from George right now and to see what he has in store for us. So George Garcia.
What's up, guys?
Hey, George.
How you guys doing?
Really good.
Great.
How are you?
How are you?
I'm good. Sheri, like you've known me for years, and I just got off a demo that I did for Redken for all of our artist network, and got to see all of our familiar faces, our Redken family. But it's funny. It's like, when you're doing shows, you're running from one stage to the other, and you're okay, I finished that one. Now I got to talk about this one. So I kind of feel like, even though I'm in a 500 square foot apartment in New York, I feel like I'm running from stage to stage right now.
Well, that's good, because
that's a good thing.
Right? I love it. But I love sharing information. I love sharing the information with our industry and with our team. And I'm really excited. Thank you guys for having me on this afternoon. And I'm excited about what we're going to do today.
Well, thank you for killing it and from educating from one place to another in one day.
Thank you, sir.
That's amazing.
Thank you. Oh, and by the way, Sheri, I just wash my face once a day too. So that's my regimen.
Oh,
Don't you hate that? Don't you hate that? That's like when you go ask a skinny girl, so how do you stay so trim? I don't know. I eat everything I want. I don't even work out. Just want to choke on me.
Well, the thing is, I didn't have the heart to tell him while he was live with us, but I was once 30 and think I looked skinny and hot then too. So we'll, with age comes other things.
That's right.
So George, what are you going to show us today?
So Sheri, this whole situation that we're in right now, I talked to you about it the other day in our live. I'm using this to rebrand myself, to come out of this a completely different hairdresser, and so focusing on the things that maybe I need to work on, things that I'm not strong in, or maybe when I come out of this thing, I'm more than prepared and more than tooled up to attack our industry in my salon, behind my chair, on my stages, a completely different way. And so for me, whenever I'm working with techniques and a lot of the popular techniques, it's not like for me, it's not like we come up with and come up with techniques that are groundbreaking. Every now and then in our industry that happens, but it's almost like a reinvention of things. You know what I mean? It's like what's coming back, what's using. I remember like balayage I did when I started in our industry, and then all of a sudden it came back again. I was like, all right, I'm down with balayage too. I've been doing that for a while, but it's almost like reinventing things. And for me, I'm always, Casey knows me, my girlfriend Casey knows me, she knows I'm always trying to figure things out. When I'm looking at a television show, or I love crime shows, when I'm watching crime shows, in the beginning, I'm always trying to figure things out. I'm trying to deconstruct things. And for me, I kind of approach hair color that way too, If I'm doing a technique that maybe isn't coming out exactly the way I want it, or maybe there may be glitches, I'm my biggest critic. And so those little things, those little imperfections drive me crazy. And so I very rarely have the time to sit down, stop, take all those things that have been bugging me for a while and put my knowledge to good use and come up with solutions for all those problems. So this is what I want to share with you guys this afternoon. It's a technique that I kind of started utilizing. I've been doing it for a little while now, and I started it about 6 months ago. My first time I did it was in Portugal. And so it didn't even tell anyone I was doing it. And this is a perfect time to try this out, right? And so, so I did it in Portugal, and didn't even tell the audience what I did, just a model. But I was really happy with the end results. It was much simpler, much easier for me. I'm all about fast. I'm all about easy, but giving me a beautiful end result in the end. So that's what I want to kind of share with you this afternoon. So just to kind of set this up, I'm going to show you guys. I have a couple of pre-done mannequins here for you, and then I also
George, if you could just, I'm sorry to interrupt you. If you could just move to your right, half a step. There you go. Yep. That's perfect. Okay, good.
Oh my God! If you guys saw this apartment, it's hilarious.
I hear you. You see my background.
Very good right there. Yeah. Okay. Good. All right. So I have a benchmark here that I did yesterday, and you can see that going through there's
beautiful.
There's some hair color that's disconnected. It's very lived in, very comfortable. The type of hair color that we're seeing right now, very organic type of placement. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I really love doing, and because it gives me such a beautiful end result, and Sheri, you know this, with Redken, we get a lot of class requests. And one of the biggest class requests right now that's being asked for is a TZ Lights class. And everyone's doing it, but not everyone's having the 100% results that they're looking for. A lot of glitches, a lot of things that are happening unpredictably that were happening to me also. So for me, when I was stuck, and those of you that don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to TZ Lights, I just want to walk you through just a little bit of the end result that you get from a TZ Light and why that happens. When you're talking about TZ Lights, what I love about a TZ Light is you get a beautiful transition from their natural color into a lighter color, or whatever color you're looking for. I love that melting. The way we achieve that melting is, you have hair, and then you retract or tease back hair, you color hair. But then when you release that hair, you literally have hair that's colored sitting next to hair that's not colored. And you can't get that beautiful melt with any other. You can't get it from dry brushing. You can't get it from reverse brushing, vertical brushing, any of that stuff. I've never found that type of melt other than from a TZ Light. So this is I understand the reason we do this, because it gives you such a beautiful end result. In
George,
saying that, though, yes.
Can you just show, because I'm wondering for, TZ Light is an expression that has hit the social media by storm, and then it goes on and people start to Google it, and then we've got clients that come in and say, I want TZ Lights. Right, and if we've never been taught what TZ Lights are, can you just explain what a TZ Light actually is to the guests?
Yes, thank you, Sheri. So one of the things I love about when you're doing a TZ Light is, first of all, you can take very large sections, so you move through your head very quickly. And so it's a technique that can be utilized and incorporated with your clients. It's a very easy, quick add-on service that gives you a very big impact. And so when you're doing tease lights, I love that you can take really large sections. So you can see that I have a big inch-size sections here. And then with your comb, what you do is wherever you want the transition to happen, you insert your comb and then you tease back. So you're pushing back those shorter hairs, retracting back those shorter hairs that are eventually going to come back in and help with, and then when you put the color, those shorter hairs that you push back remain darker, they don't get colored. And then when they retract back, they help in the diffusion of your line that you've created there.
Very nice.
That's kind of what a teasy light's all about. That's what it was for. That's what it's for. And that's the result that you get. You can see here the beautiful soft transition.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in saying that, here's some of the challenges I have with teasy lights. First of all, a teasy light to get that really soft diffused line there, when you're pushing back and you're teasing back the hair, what happens for me in the salon is if I'm looking to connect the hair, meaning connecting, when I say connecting, I mean getting the color closer to the scalp. Because I put so much cushion back or because I put so much teasing back, it inhibits how close I can get to the scalp. So right here, just by the amount of teasing that I did there, you can see that I'm already 2 inches away from the scalp. And if I want to get close to the scalp, it's a little bit more difficult to do that. So that was one of my challenges. I'm sure you can relate to that too, Alfredo. And then one of my other challenges is because the section is so large, I love the fact that I can take large sections because it's quicker to do. What I don't like about taking large sections, my challenge there was that if I'm looking for levels of lift more than 3 levels, it's really difficult for me to get that because my section is so big. It's so thick. We all know that the thicker the section, the slower and lower the lift. The finer the section, the higher and brighter the lift is going to be and faster. And so that was another challenge that I had. The third challenge that I had was with my clients. So on a mannequin, my mannequin doesn't really care what I do to her hair. But in the salon, when I'm taking those tangles back out, my clients their heads were being pulled, and usually it's being pulled with two assistants that I'm working with, being pulled in 2 different directions. And so for me, I didn't feel comfortable doing it. I love the end result, but I just didn't feel comfortable with it. And I tried everything from to a detangling comb to taking little fine sections and trying to take it out little by little. The time was a factor, and then my client's discomfort was a factor. So, and then also, because we're getting those higher levels of lift, the last thing I want to do when the hair is in an alkaline state, a very high alkaline state, if I'm moving them more than 3 levels, the last thing I want to do is rip and pull over the top of that hair. Not a lot of times I go through and I take out the tangles and I look at my comb and I have tons of casualties, and those become my pocket hairs. I just put those in my bucket. So I chose at that point just to take a look at what I'm doing and deconstruct what a teasy light is all about. Remember, Sheri, we talked about pushing those shorter hairs back into the hair, into the base, so that you can now color what's out here, so then eventually retract those hairs. What I thought to myself was, well, how can I get those finer pieces of color within this section out of the way so that I can go through, apply my color, soften out my line, and then bring those hairs back into the situation to help blend in or soften out that line. So that was my first initial thought. Now, what I also thought was, okay, so I'm going to do this. I need to have different types and different versions of this. This right here is a traditional teasy light. You can see it's disconnected. You can see the soft transition. This here is a similar section that you still also see that very soft transition, but there was no teasing that happens here. There was no, plus the area, you can see that the lift is a little bit higher that I got here, and it's because of how we break down the section. So, in doing what I call split lighting, which is called split lights, we're going to subdivide and break down the section so that you're achieving all the things.
Pause for the name.
Pause me.
Right.
Split lights. There it
Okay,
is.
wait a minute. Split lights. You just sprinkled that in real quick, like without.
Right. As if it was nothing.
Okay,
right?
So this technique is called split lights. So, and it's going to give me what I normally get from a teasy light without all the challenges that I have. So this is a traditional, what you would get from a traditional teasy light. This here is a connected version of a teasy light, meaning that there are threads of color that go from your area transition, which is the same all the way around, but now you're taking threads of color that connect the hair. This is great to use around the hairline. You can see that I use the, on the mannequin here, you can see that all of her hairline here has those threads of color that work all the way around her hairline there. So this is actually connects it. hairline, maybe even doing the money piece, and even on her part. A lot of times our clients, so you can see here, you still have a lot of depth that's there, but those threads of color are definitely going through and connecting that color. If I open that up a little bit for you guys, if I open that up on the interior, the color is disconnected. And I need that darker color for my contrast. So when I'm working, and I did her straight for you guys today, so the straight hair doesn't lie. So curly hair kind of blurs everything together, so it hides the imperfection. I did it straight for you guys so you can see that there's no glitches, but that darker hair underneath there is what's going to peek through to give me my variation in dark to light contrast that happens that way. So now that would be this quadrant here. So I have a section that has a nice strong, you can see that it's nice strong distribution of blonde, but the threads of color are connecting it closer to the scalp. And the last version of a split light is this one I have on this side here. You're going to notice that the threads of color that we're going to pull through, we still go through in the same area transition, but the threads of color are bringing through are darker colors that bring through to give you that overall softer blonde that has a beautiful combination of the blonde that has a nice soft transition, but also her natural color. So you have 3 versions that you can utilize to place wherever you want. This area here, which is the soft combination, would be great on the interior of the hair. When a girl pulls her hair forward and it sits right here, there's not a maximum contrast. She still has those threads of color that connects it visually to the rest of the lighter color. Again, here, this here, connecting at the part around the face. And then this here, your traditional disconnected teasy light or your disconnected split light that's going to have that darker color that you can use on the interior to create that contrast of light and dark. If you're with me, say yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
I say yes with an A-S-S-S-S.
Yes. That's yes.
George, I have a question for you. Just
yes.
Because when it comes to teasy lights, you talked about being able to take more density and getting through the hair. How much density is too much density? And you know, everybody probably has a little bit different answer to this because we all do things in our way. But what do you suggest as a good section size for this kind of technique?
That's the beauty about this, Alfredo, is that I can take a large section. Those, what you saw there, those split lights that we have there, the majority of them are at least a 1-inch section to almost, some of them are almost a 1.5-inch section. And so you could take a very large section because of how you split it. So I'm just going to go through here and I'm going to show you exactly what I'm talking about so that you guys can get a better understanding. And then I'm going to show you what we did. I have an after picture of the model that we did in Portugal, so you guys have another good idea of what it looks like on a real person. Because that's
nice. We're just going to sit back and watch you work, George.
So let's just say that I'm going to be working on the side here, and I'm just going to pull this hair out of the way for you guys, and so you guys can see it. Now, if you can't see something, you guys got to be my coach, though. You got to tell me if you can't see something, okay? So I'm just going to take a good. What do you think? What do you think? I take a good inch and a half size section, right, Alfredo? So that's pretty big, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, good. So now, if I think and I deconstruct that, I need to have some shorter hairs or those finer threads of color that I need to remove. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this section, and I'm just going to put a clip below here so I don't mess with the hair that's down below there. I'm just going to put a clip right there. Now, somehow, some way, I need to get threads of color out of it, not just along the perimeter of my section, but within my section. So I'm just going to take the hair first off. I'm going to pull it vertically straight up. And then I'm going to go through and I'm going to pull out deep threads of color throughout that section. And if I look at that, you can see that those aren't, there's a lower part. Can you guys see that? Can you see how deep those threads are going through?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me bring it a little closer for you. Can you see how deep those threads go through?
Yes. That's
So they don't just sit on their surface, they actually go into the section of hair. That's my first subsection, is that one right there. So now, this is my, and if you look at that, look how fine those weaves are. It's a very, very ultra fine weave, just like the threads that you do. That's just like the threads that you tease back when you're doing a teasy light. Now I'm going to go to the top of the section, and I'm going to dip through again really deeply, pulling out those fine threads of color from the top part. If I grab hair that's already been pulled out, that's a good thing. That means I'm going deep enough into the section. So now you can see that section also goes really, really deep. So some of these threads almost touch the other side, which is these threads of color here. So now if you think about that, now I'm going to split it. This is where the split comes in. I split this out. So these are my fine threads of hair that are coming throughout that section. And this is my core of my section here. This is my core of my split light. So this is where I'm going to go through. And now at this point, I'm going to pick and choose where my area transition is going to be. So at that point, I'm going to treat this as if I would do a normal TZ light. Once I'm done with that, these hairs here, the fine hairs, are going to go back into and intermingle with this core section, giving me that soft diffusion without any teasing, without me having to rip through the hair. And it's very predictable because I can pull out as much as I want to create a soft diffusion, or I can pull out a slight amount to have a stronger diffusion. So this is kind of the premise of split lights, just splitting the hair into 3 different quadrants. And then also think about this, guys. You saw how thick that section was, right, Alfredo?
Yes.
Look at how fine the sections are individually. So now I can actually go through and get the levels that I'm looking for, 3 and 4 levels lighter, with these finer sections that I could if I did it all at the same time. So that's kind of where the premise of split lights comes through. And those are some of the reasons why I decided to do it this way. So I'm going to actually do a couple for you. Is that okay?
Yes,
all right,
please.
Cool. So
please
again, I'm going to go through, keeping in mind, again, guys, I want to have very, very fine threads of color so that if the pieces are too thick, your threads are too thick, your area diffusion is going to look real streaky. So you want to make sure they're very fine threads of color when you're bringing those through. So I'm going to take the rest of the section, which is the rest of my split light. I'm just going to pull that up and out of the way, and now this is what I'm going to be coloring. Now, how I color this section has everything to do with what I want it to do. Do I want it to connect, or do I want to support the disconnect in my split light? So if I'm looking to disconnect or to soften out my area transition, I'm going to bring the color only below my area transition. So what's going to happen is if I bring my core down and my line of diffusion is here, I need to bring those darker threads over the top of that area diffusion. Does that make sense to you guys?
Absolutely.
George, makes sense, and you're getting some positive feedback here.
Awesome.
Libations House of Styles, there was a secondary explanation. Give us a thumbs up if you got that. And Mana Dave is joining us from New Zealand, and he says, yes.
What's up, brother? Love me some Mana. Okay, so this is my first section here, and I'm gonna, because my boss is in the building, so I'm gonna put some gloves on.
Yeah.
Look at these, Sheri.
Yeah.
Oh, look at those.
What about those gloves?
Have those, George.
Literally, how do you not have them?
They match your jacket. They match your jacket, Sheri.
They match my entire closet.
Yeah, true.
Actually.
True.
We'll have to send you a box of them. You could be quarantined and you could be very sterilized and still look good. You know?
And still be sparkly. I love it. George, there is a question while you're doing that, which is, would you always go horizontal with the techniques, or would you do diagonals for softness?
Great question. You would treat this as if you normally would do whatever type of highlighting you're going to be doing. If you know what the end result is going to be with a horizontal, a diagonal, and a vertical, you'll always know what your end result is going to be with split lights. So whatever you're choosing to do, whether it be a vertical, horizontal, diagonal, remember, whenever we're doing vertical, we're always going to create much more softer distribution of color. Whenever we're doing vertical, it's going to be a little bit more linear, meaning it's going to look a little stripier. And then horizontal is going to give us our heaviest distribution of color. So you just think about those principles about when you place your split light in. I'm doing this one horizontally just because so you can see it a little bit better. I'm going to actually show you the mannequin that I did for you, the benchmark that I did. I'm actually going to show you the sectioning and where they were placed so that everyone watching can get an idea of what that looks like.
Great.
Excellent.
So now, if you look at this here, Sheri, I put the color from this point down, from the mid shaft down. The reason I brought it to this point here is because I know that my line of diffusion is going to be much higher than that. So if I take my next core of my section and my area transition is here, I'm bringing these darker hairs over the top of that area to help, again, bring those darker colors through to help soften that out. So I know that this is where my line of diffusion is. Now, one thing Chris Sorby showed me, she said, if you want to remember, because I forget when I put a foil on it, just put a little tear in the foil so that you know exactly where that is. Because once you put the next foil on, you're blind. You can't see where that area is. So I'm just going to take this section here And also,
pause there. You're going so fast. That is brilliant.
Yeah.
So you put a little tear where you started with your decolorizer, so that when you lay the next foil on, you know exactly where that is, because otherwise you're not really.
You get lost.
Literally.
Nice.
Literally, yeah. So in that instance, I know it's because as soon as I put my next foil on, Sheri, it's going to be. It's literally. I can no longer see what I did previously. And if you have a memory like me. You need every clue, every hint you can get. And then also, notice what I'm doing here, Sheri, Alfredo and Sheri, that I'm using open foils. With this type of technique, the more bends that I put in my foil, the more likely I'm going to create lines or areas that don't lift quite as high. So I'm using an open foil here. What that's also going to do for me is whenever I'm working with open foils, I can then go back in and check my foils to make sure that I'm getting the lift that I'm looking for and tell me whether I need to continue to process or not. So now I have my tear here that's going to show me where my area of diffusion is. I'm going to now isolate that foil. I'm going to use a foil. I'm going to take it all the way up to where I want my next section to begin. And then I'm going to take down the remainder of my section. Now, I haven't taken out the finer pieces from the interior yet, so I need to make sure that I do that at this point. I'm going to drop it back down, and I'm going to pull out threads of color that go all the way into the core of the section. And I'm just going to take those away. You can see they go really, really deep there. They even match up with the hairs that are underneath. So I'm going to take these out of my way for now. And now I'm going to treat this as if this were a teasy there, or maybe even like a balayage section. And so I'm still going to ensure that I'm going to make this softer. So I'm going to take one more foil. I could literally lay it on top of this section here, but because I want to make sure that I'm secure with my foil, I'm going to take another one and just lay it right underneath there. Now, I need to remember where my area of diffusion was. I can look at that tear and it tells me that it's here. So I'm going to take my color higher than that. So I know where to go higher because I started applying my lightener here. I'm going to go higher up with it there. So those darker hairs lay on and intermingle to help with my area transition. So I'm just going to go through and apply my lightener to this section here.
So Alfredo, you're sort of shaking your head a little bit. I think you're having an aha.
I am. No, I'm saying, yeah, so good.
So there's my area diffusion. I'm going to take that a little bit higher than that area. And then my pressure of my brush is going to lighten up just a little bit more. You can see that there's a hard line there. I'm just going to soft that out, reverse brush that just to make sure that I get and my pressure is very, very light. Very, very light. So I have a nice, beautiful area transition that happens at that point. Now that I've done that section, I'm also going to isolate that.
George, somebody's asking about a clay lightener. Which type of a lightener do you prefer to use for split lights?
I like to, thank you for that, Sheri. I love using lighteners that are versatile. And so for me, if I can use a lightener that I can change the viscosity with, but yet still give me some really good lift, I want to use one that's a little more versatile. So for me, I love flash lift bonder inside because I can make it really thick like I would use like a clay lightener would, but I can also with dense hair or hair that has a tendency to have challenges with saturation, I'll use a looser consistency. So I can adjust that with flash lift bonder inside. Also, it's ultra conditioning for the hair. So if I'm moving more than 3 levels of lightness, I know that I want to make sure that I have a product that's going to be very conditioning.
Nice.
So now my last section, my last part of my split light here, again, my area diffusion is here, so I don't want to go any higher than where I am there. I'm just going to soften that out just a little bit there. And then I'm going to isolate that section. So Alfredo, I just took a 1.5, close to a 1.5 inch section, subdivided it into fine sections that I'm going to be able to lift and be able to get the maximum amount of lift that I'm looking for, and yet not have to worry about any of that, any of those areas lifting a little different than others. So that's kind of the whole premise behind split lights.
This is making me wish that I had a mannequin here so I could follow on and do hands-on with you right now.
I would invite you over, but I don't think you would fit in our apartment right now.
Well, also not yet, right? But
not yet.
I did see
George,
earlier, Casey was saying that Pivot Point is delivering
yes.
mannequins now. So if there are people in these future lives that want to follow along and want to try to replicate, because we are going to be, we'll talk about that at the end, but you can get mannequins, guys, if you want to, practice at home.
Yeah, I think, and we will get into the habit of telling everybody what we'll be doing and what kind of products they'll need in order to do that. So, George, just because there's a question about teasing, and I want to make sure I understand. So there's a 1.5 inch section. That 1.5 inch section is then subdivided into 3 sections.
It's split into 3 sections.
I'm sorry, it's split.
Split light.
Split light. It's split into, hence the name. It's split into 3 sections, and then you've got a bottom, for lack of a better word, you've got a bottom, a middle, and a top section.
Yes, exactly.
And are you teasing? Where are you teasing? Anywhere?
Absolutely no teasing whatsoever, Sheri. Which is the beauty of it. I don't have to. I'm saving time on having to take the tangles out, as well as putting additional stress on the hair that I've lightened by pulling through and ripping through that freshly lightened hair.
Very good. So because this is sort of meant for clients that George was struggling to lift more than 3 levels and keep the condition of their hair post pulling out the teasy lights. Remember, he had pocket hair afterwards, or casualties. We want to avoid the casualties. So we're using this very deep sort of sectioning, that 1.5 inches, 3 sections that are split. The sections are created by very deep weaves, for lack of a better word. And then we're minding where we're putting the lightener. Some people are saying they wish they had some lightener. At the end of the day, if you're going to be working on mannequins, don't work on the humans this way, but maybe there's a way you can get some lightener. I hate to say it, but maybe there's an online way to get some lightener to you. I would investigate what the best way to do that is.
Yeah, for sure.
It depends on where you live. Can you use different formulas with different peroxide for more dimension, or will it, or work it in natural hair with like a permanent color? The example here is color gels lacquers.
Beautiful. I love the way they're thinking now, Sheri, because they're taking from what I give them the basis of the technique, and they can evolve it into whatever they're looking for. What I started playing with now is what I'm going to be doing now is I'm going to be doing a split light that's going to connect the hair to my line of diffusion. So instead of taking darker hairs and bringing them through my line of diffusion, now I'm going to take lighter hairs and push them up past my line of diffusion to connect the hair closer to the scalp. So in this instance, what I've been playing with is the areas, the first part of my section and the very last part, which are my fine weaves. I'm using high lift color here. So this is going to give me a refined high lift, and then a lightener, which is going to give me more of a raw type of lift on the interior. So you could use different formulas depending on what end result that you're looking for to get to your end result. So yeah, I love the way they're going with it, using maybe a dark and a light, or maybe a medium and a light, to create even more contrast that you're going to get from your split light.
Nice. There's somebody frustrated that they don't have a tripod at home, and my only advice is duct tape. Everybody has duct tape. And you can duct tape that mannequin to something, I'm sure.
Yeah, there is absolutely.
So I'm going to take my split light now. I'm going to do a connected split light, Sheri. So my first section is going to get as close to the scalp as I can. I'm just going to take that first section that I very deeply wove out those threads of color, using an open foil here. I'm just going to take those ends and I'm going to pull those up so that I can do what I call a pigback foil. Those of you that have clients who have ultra long hair, this is the way we kind of utilize an additional foil to work with those longer lengths of the hair. Remember, I talked about earlier, guys, the less bending and folding of my foils, the less likely I'm going to have any bending that happens. And in this technique, like I showed you with the benchmark, there's no hard lines, there's no glitches that happen in doing split light. So I'm just going to isolate that first section.
Can you hold the length of the foil up so that everyone can see that on the camera?
So this is where her length extends maybe a few inches longer than her section. You got it. I'm going to take one more foil and I'm going to isolate this right here. And I'm using the product to hold my foil on. Now I have I'm going to pull out my core of my section now. So I'm going to go through and pull through those threads that are going to match up with the threads that I did on my first section. And you can see they go all the way to the core of that section. So look, when we started off with that 1 1/2 inch section, look how we've broken it down. And this hair here is very easily controlled when I'm talking about lifting, especially when I'm want those lighter levels of lift. So this is my core section here. I'm just going to take that and isolate those fine threads out of the way for right now. And it's just right there. So now remember, the first threads, they went all the way to the scalp. So all I have to worry about now is where I want that transition to be. I can go here, I can go anywhere in through this area without thinking about it, because I know that all the threads are going to be connecting the section. So in this one here, I'm just going to go to the mid shaft. So I'm going to go to my mid shaft of hair of the section here, and I'm just going to bring that through my mid length and my end.
Great.
I'm going to add that. Make sure your saturation is on. Make sure it's key. If you're one of the major reasons why we have glitches in the hair is because our saturation is off. I always blame it on the technique. I never blame it on my application. So in this, make sure that your application is on so that you're getting a beautiful soft transition. If you want to vertical brush it, however you feel comfortable using maybe if you want to use like a blur brush or an edging brush or something to soften that out, just make sure that you're taking every precaution to make sure that your end result is nice and soft.
And George, the width of the thickness of your section is 1.5 inches. What is the width of your section? Is it the same as the foil?
It's always, for me, Justin Isaac says it best. He taught me that anything wider than my peace sign is you should always subdivide it. So, and if you look at my foil, my peace sign always fits within my foil. So anything that's past those corners of my foil, I'm pulling, I'm dragging, and it's going to be harder to control. Plus, I may get a little too much disconnection on those outer corners. So just to make sure that I'm working in control and making sure that I'm getting the product in where I need it and where I want it, I'm going to work with something no wider than my peace sign. So now this is my last section here. The air conditioning is on, it's blowing my foils all over the place.
You look great, George.
Yeah.
I'm going to add a little more product here. So I'm just going to put one more foil here. Did you see that wind is blowing right now? I'm going to try to lock it in right there, just to hold it. So now my last part of my foil is here. My last part of my section is here. I'm going to drop that right over the top of it, push that foil right underneath it, and I'm going to, again, get as close as I can to the scalp here, which is going to bring that lighter color and this split light all the way to the scalp, so it's much more connected. Like I said, Sheri, this is perfect to use like on the part. It's perfect to use around the hairline if your client's the kind of, I wear my hair up and I want to see those threads of color, or if I want to pull my hair up once a year, I want it to be in the back. So this is a perfect opportunity, a perfect technique to connect your split lights to where you're getting the distribution that you want to get from a TZ light, but it's a lot more controlled.
Obsessed.
Obsessed. Exactly.
I'm obsessed.
So I'm going to take one more foil here. And then I'm going to take one here, okay? So then I'm just going to fold in just the corners, just for secure purposes, just to secure it in, make sure it doesn't move. And then I'm done with that. So this is the one that's going to connect. This one was your traditional, what you get from a traditional TZ light. And then I'm going to show you one more that's going to give you what I talked about on the side, where you're incorporating not only a soft line diffusion, but her natural color comes all the way through the section. So this is how you would achieve that. I'm going to do one in the back here. All that hair goes out of the way. Remember, no wider than your peace sign. Again, I'm going to take a large section here, Alfredo. So just think about that, how big that section is there, a good inch and a half section. Just think of how, like if I did 3 or 4 of those, I'm good to go for the whole front. Maybe 2 in the front, maybe a couple on the sides is going to give me just enough color to give a nice impact. And then through the interior, maybe 1 or 2 just to add connection from the interior to the exterior. So this is going to be my soft split light, the softest of the split lights. And I'm going to take this clip out of the way.
We've got some comments of people being so inspired they're going to use this with fashion colors. I can't wait to see that. Please make sure you're tagging George, Alfredo, and myself in that.
100%.
We'd love to share what it is that you're doing once you've been inspired. Of course, hashtag RMB Raise My Bar. George, I think one of the things we've been discussing is, sort of this post-COVID when the doors open back up again. And that, everything from a socioeconomic standpoint, right outside of our industry, the mindset of our clients is going to be a little bit different. And, there might be some apprehension with spending loads of hours in a salon where they're crossing over and being in close quarters. And what I love about this is it seems to give the maximum amount of impact with, as you're saying, such minimal amount of sectioning. And that is so beneficial when we're getting our clients back into our salons, how we can get them in and out without compromising the look of what we're doing or the end result of what we're doing. It's super smart.
Yeah, exactly, Sheri. And I'm, I've been talking to Casey, my girlfriend Casey, about, I own a salon in California also, and my business is going to look completely different when I go back to California. And I have to accept that. I have to be okay with that. And, I've already started coming with a plan of action to where, I may have to remove some of my stations so that I achieve that distance. I may have to shampoo maybe 1 or 2 clients at a time, keeping them separated. Offer them when they come into my salon, instead of a cup of coffee, how about a mask or a glove? We're going to be using them during our service, and we want to make sure that we're protecting your safety, giving you safety. And of course, everyone's going to be walking down, whether it's clean or not, they'll be wiping down and cleaning everything throughout the day. So it's just those little things are going to change how I run my salon on a daily basis. And so techniques like this and that are going to assist in that, if you can't stack your appointments, maybe you can cut down on how long it takes you to do it so that you can put another client in. So being able to minimize the amount of time that you're spending on your client's application will allow you to do that. Because like I heard it was stack them and rack them is no longer a thing anymore. Right. Now we're going to have to separate our clients and work on them individually. And honestly, Sheri, I miss that. You know what I mean? Sometimes I feel like I'm on a hamster wheel when I'm in my salon, and for me to be able to slow down and be able to connect and talk to my clients, because I don't know about you, Sheri, I crave connection right now. When I was just on that call with all the Redken artists, it brought me to tears seeing all their faces.
Yeah, I know Alfredo may not be craving connection from me so much because he sees my face all day long.
I'm still craving connection from you, Sheri. It doesn't get old.
Holy.
I'm just going to keep up in different sparkle outfits, and hopefully it's like a fishing lure. He's like still attractive.
So this is the softest one, Sheri. This is the softest one up. I got. All right. So this is the softest one. You can see that I pulled out the threads on the top part and I pulled them out on the underneath. This is the easiest one to do. You don't do anything to those other threads. All you're going to do is isolate that core of the section. Isolate that core of the section, lock that in, and they may be out and about, but when all is said and done, when you comb the hair back into place, those threads of colors are going to fly right back into that section and help in transitioning and softening out the overall result of that area. So those are the 3 split lights. Like where you decide to put them and how you decide to utilize them is completely up to you. So,
and George, when you get to the top of the head, this is a question. How can we finish this technique to the top of the head? So what do you do as you're starting to go up?
Yeah, when you start to get into the crown.
So once I start getting into the part, let's say, for instance, we'll do a center part here. Let's say, for instance, we have a center part here. From this point down, from where the round of the head, from this point down is where I'm going to do my disconnection. Because remember, we need that darker color there to where when the hair is curled or however you finish it, when it moves, it opens up that darker color to come through to see contrast. So the underneath part is usually where I do the disconnected or the softer split lights. Once I start to work my way past the round, now I'm going to take horizontal sections, and those are going to be connected sections. So those are the ones we're going to do where the threads are going to shoot to the scalp. so it's a little bit more connected as opposed to disconnected. The softer end result, the softer split lights, I love using on the interior in the back of the hair, to where you don't want to get rid of a lot of that darkness, but yet you still want to visually connect it with what's happening here. Because what a lot of my clients hate is when they have a beautiful highlight, and then of course everyone pulls their hair forward, and then they see dark, solid dark, and all light. So by utilizing the softest version of split light through the interior of the hair, you get some type of visual connection, but you don't get rid of all the depth.
Right.
So yeah, just working your way through. The closer you get to the part, the more connected it becomes.
Okay, and so the closer you get to the part, just to reiterate that, the more connected it becomes. And by connected, we mean connected to the scalp or where the hair grows out.
Yes, those threads of color connect all the way to the scalp. So it's not like these streaks of color that are going there. They're literal threads of color that connect it to. So it's almost like a haze of lighter blonde that's connecting the strong distribution of blonde to the scalp.
Hence thread lights.
Hence thread lights. Casey, do you have the sectioning for this that you could throw up?
Oh, cool.
Great.
Amazing.
Is it up? Okay, so you can see that in through the sides here, they were diagonal backs. Okay,
right.
So those diagonal backs that you see on the side there, if you want to connect the hair, like I did with our benchmark here, if you want to connect those threads of color around her face, put that section literally on the side of the hair, so that when you're pulling out those threads of color from the core of your section, those are the ones that are going to sit on along the hairline. The back ones also are going to connect it here also. Then once you get to, or if you want to, you don't want those threads of color, you want that depth that lives around the face, then you would stay off of the hairline, but do a diagonal back. Diagonals give you more of a softer distribution, which just assists in creating an element of softness to your overall end result. Once you get into the front here, notice that I just cored out, the section shows that I just took out the fringe area. I worked from side to fringe. The fringe, just two horizontal partings that work their way through. You can see that in this section here, I left out one of a section in between, which gave me a little bit of depth through her fringe area. Gives me a little bit of variation, so when I color it, you'll see a little bit of depth there. If you don't want that, then I would just do back to back, two horizontals back to back, so that this is a lot stronger. It looks more like what we call muddy pieces. It'd just be a little bit stronger if you leave hair, if you don't leave any hair out. But I decided in that area just to leave it hair out in between those two sections, so you see that variation.
I love the dimension you left there, because it just makes those highlights just pop around the face.
Totally. Yeah. And then you have
beautiful.
The top part, you can see the top part, just two horizontals. And then the back part here, you can see that it looks like there's a lot of blonde that lives here, but all it is two split lights that live on top that are connected also. I'll take those out of the way so you can literally see how much dark is actually in there. All it is those two sections that live on top. Everything else underneath here is completely dark. So just goes to show, it looks like there's a lot of color that lives there, but in actuality, all it is two deep split lights.
Amazing, George. So if you could, I see there's two head forms that are up on the YouTube for our listeners, our viewers today. If it's possible, if you could just expand upon those a little bit by diagramming out what exactly the split lights, the three different split lights that you talked about. Go ahead and put those on your page in stories. Tag us. We'll repost them and remind everybody that they can go back and they can see this video. It will stay up on RMB. It'll also be available on the Independent Brand YouTube channels as well as Access. Don't forget to subscribe down below, guys, because then you'll see some countdowns as we're doing RMB Live, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Monday, and we'd love to see you here. All the questions are so awesome. They're really helping us navigate through this and helping us help you to get what you need in this difficult time. George, what did you do after you lightened the hair? Did you do anything?
Well, I usually use Shades of Q. So that's Shades of Q brings the hair back to its acidic pH, making the hair nice and shiny and conditioned. For this, I didn't want to put any tone to it, so you could see exactly the amount of lift that I got. Plus, a lot of times, Sheri, in the salons, I've heard educators teach this before, and it drives me crazy, but that it's okay if you have glitches or if you have problems. All you do is take a color and blend and do a shadow, and it'll cover up all the mistakes that you have. For me, it's all about getting it right the first time, so I don't have to do it twice. And so I would normally I didn't use the hair so you could see all the detail in it, so that if there were any imperfections, I didn't cover them up, but I did do a crystal clear. Crystal clear that gives me the same conditions and sheen that I would get from a Shades EQ gloss with no color. And so I use that so that I get the incredible shine and bringing it back to its acidic pH, doing that every time I do a highlight for sure.
And George, I think you said that you have a photo from your first
can you
time
throw
you
that
did this
photo
in
up,
Portugal?
Casey? Yeah, it's a back view. This is when I told them what it was, they were like, we want to learn about that. And I said, okay, well then bring me back to Portugal.
Right.
Always
day,
leave them wanting
George,
more. Always
one
leave
day
them wanting more.
we will be on the road again.
Yeah.
On the road again.
Yeah. I'm kind of going through withdrawals, Sheri. I did 7 major countries last year.
Yeah.
This year is like...
Yeah, here we go. So up for anybody that's on YouTube right now, you can see the final look from George's model when he was in Portugal sharing a little bit of split lights. And George, was this on a natural level hair? Virgin hair? Can you tell us?
She was a natural level 5. And we lifted her to a level 9. And her glaze formula was 09 RB, which is a nice, beautiful, almost a diluted version, like a diluted version of the strawberry blonde, which has a beautiful refined end result. I love that.
Yeah.
Beautiful,
you can't
George.
see her face, but you can see her arms and there's just her skin tone next to that hair. It looks quite beautiful. And,
she's amazing.
George, any last hot tips? Anything you want to say?
That you want to share?
That's watching.
100%. I always have something I want to share. For me, Sheri, I just want as far as what's happening with us right now in these times, you guys have said it time and time again, and thank you for taking the lead on this, guys. Bringing all this positivity to what could be a very, very negative situation for most people. And so, myself included. And so, please take this time. If I could tell you guys anything or share with you anything, the direction that I've decided to take what life has thrown my way is to reinvent myself and to take the things that I was afraid of and the things that I didn't understand and take this time to understand them and master them. And so, it's very, very, and then also I told you on our live yesterday, Sheri, we tell our clients all the time and all the hairdressers that I help and I teach, your foundation is what makes you strong. The principles of hair color, knowing what the principles of hair color are will make you a strong colorist. And for me right now, I've been forced, life has given me the opportunity to focus on my foundation. And my foundation is you guys, my friends, my coworkers, and my family. And so when I come out of this, I know that because I focus on my end result, on my foundation. I know that when I come out of this, I will definitely be stronger. So that's what I have to say to everyone out there.
Thank you so much, George.
You're welcome, brother.
You were awesome, and I learned so much from that right now, just so you know.
Good. I'm glad you guys had a good time because I sure did.
I've been wanting to get more into cheesy lights and some different techniques with foils, so that was just so helpful for me, and I'm sure it was for everybody watching. So thank you so much for sharing.
If you guys have if anyone has any questions, they can always DM me. Sheri knows me. I return DMs really quickly for anything that I shared, any clarification, what they need. They can always DM me, and I'll have all these head forms on my story as soon as we get off here.
Thank you so much, George. I got all teary and then did something to my camera. So I threw myself off for just a second. I've known you for more than half my life, actually, now that I've done some math about it the other day, which is incredible to say. And I'm just so grateful for your words, for your positivity. I've seen you reinvent yourself over and over again, and not for any reason that's egotistical at all, just for the simple fact that your desire is always to serve the community and to serve your clients. And in doing that, you've had to reinvent yourself. And now's the time where we've been thrown this thing, which is so strange. And, we are thrust into a position that could potentially be negative. And once again, you show up with positivity, and a mindset of reinventing yourself again to serve the clients and help our stylists to serve their clients. And for that, we are eternally grateful, and I love you dearly. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, George.
Bye, everybody. I'll see you next time.
See you
Bye,
next time, George.
Bye.
Well, Sheri.
I'm gonna be honest. I don't know what it was that he touched in my heart just now, but I'm definitely feeling an overwhelming sense of gratitude for this industry. It's the only industry I've ever worked in. I think it's the only industry you've ever worked in. Yes. And we know that it feels completely different now. We know that it's going to feel completely different in the next coming weeks, and that, you know, as we get on the other side of this, it's going to need to be different so that we can do all of the things that service our guests best. And what I love is that so many people are coming together to be able to figure out what that looks like together. And
the community.
It's community and it's love.
It's love and it's togetherness.
That my little heart desires in life to feel like, you know, to live my mission. I know to live your mission.
Yes.
You know, so everybody that's on here, thank you. Everybody's saying so many great things. George, people are living for George. I love that.
It was amazing.
Yeah, we're going to make sure that all of our guests were amazing. Don't forget, we're going to have guests every single Monday, once again at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, without glitches. Next time, we're going to be
without glitches. And you know what, though, I got to say, Sheri, for it being our first time, I'm so happy. I feel really, you know, sorry to everybody that we were a little bit late, but it was, you know, I was like, if that's the least of our things that ever happened and it's smooth sailing, I'm just so grateful to our guests. That we had today. Should I tell them who they are next, and then I'll let you close it up and we can say goodbye?
Yeah, please do. It's so exciting.
We're so moved, you guys, by the artists. We put up today some of the artists, but we're adding artists as we speak that are going to be on these every Monday for 3 hours of free education, 1 p.m. to 4 EST every week. Next week, we are going to have Sam Villa on here. We are going to have Philip Wolf on here, and we are going to have Jenny Ray Hair on here. So I'm so excited. God. If you want to see who else to expect, look at our pages. We have the lineup up on stories on my page. Sheri, I don't know if you have it yet on your page, but she'll put it up there or on stories. I know that everybody's been posting today, the artists. It's crazy. We told them last night, and they just started posting right away. So thank you to all the artists, like to Sheri's point, who jumped in immediately, just wanting to be a part of it. So I'm going to let you close it, Sheri, and take it away. But feeling really grateful right now, too.
So am I. And, you know, we're grateful. Alfredo and I are the ones that happen to be the people whose faces you see, but there's a whole team of people who are helping to make this run for us. We have somebody who within a week learned how to broadcast television, if you will. That's Casey Yee. She's at home. And yes, and we bow down to her.
The voice of God.
The voice of God. Noah is the voice of the chat box. Or I don't know, maybe that sounds weird as it's coming out of my mouth, but you know, he's been monitoring all of your questions and making sure we have, we're not missing anything. Again, we're only here to serve you. We've got Conrad, who's been helping us out, our entire education team, as well as the digital teams, and all of you. You guys are the ones that drive and direct exactly what the content is that we bring to you. I want you to know that yes, this idea was born in a time of difficulty, but it's not going to only exist for the time of difficulty. We will be bringing this education to you live every single Monday, so long as Alfredo and I both live. Does that sound a little dramatic?
We will be here.
Be dramatic.
We will be here. We're doing everything we can to stay healthy because we want to be here for you guys and serve you.
We do. And again, check us out. Not to be a commercial, but to be a resource for you tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, live on Alfredo's Instagram. Thursday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, live on my Instagram. And really, really importantly is that Wednesday, go to our pages and we put up a sticker, Ask Us Anything. And that's where you can tell us the things that you're struggling with. It's where we get our ideas on who to bring on and what to have them talk talk about while we're having these amazing lives, as well as this R&B Raise My Bar Monday. And with that, I think, while we started a little bit late, we're going to give you back your time and make sure you are, as long as hairdressers are doing hair, Noah says, so that'll be forever. No,
forever.
Yes, as long as hairdressers are doing hair. Thank you again to everyone who helped put this together, for all of the artists for being willing, calling us, and asking to be a part of these.
Yes.
It just shows all of their dedication to the community. This is a hairdressers forum. This is not a brand-led forum, just so you all know. But again, it comes from hairdressers for hairdressers, from our heart, knowing that our biggest goal in life is to serve you. So with that, take care. We'll see you tomorrow, and we love you.
Tell your friends we love you.